convey to our fellow countrymen the grave danger that we see looming over our beloved nation. This danger comes clothed in the garment of democracy, but in reality, it is naked despotism and tyranny. Now, the immediate reason for this press conference is the recent shocking mass deployment of military personnel along the border towns of the Volta region. And similar deployment has been done in the Oti region, the northern region, the upper west and upper east regions as well. It is no coincidence that all these places happen to be strongholds of the opposition NDC. We will this morning touch particularly on the situation in the Ketu South municipality and other parts of the Volta region. We are in no doubt that this massive deployment of the military and other security personnel in the Ketu South municipality and other border towns of our region has been timed to coincide with the commencement of the voter registration exercise across the country. These deployments are creating panic and anxiety among residents of Ketu South and other affected towns and districts. Interviews done by some of your colleagues in the media reveal that residents along the Ghana-Togo border are living in a state of fear due to the presence of the military. The MC of Ketu South, who represent the presence here, has explained that the reason for the deployment of the military personnel is so that they can help check and approve routes to prevent foreigners who happen to be infected with COVID-19 from coming from neighboring Togo and risk increasing the cases of COVID in our country. Now, this position has been supported by the Volta Regional Minister, Dr. Lecha, as well. Now, so this is the official government explanation for the turning of Aplau and other border towns in the region into virtual war zones. How laughable, how utterly ridiculous. The total COVID-19 case count in Togo stands at about 615. This is less than the case count in Greater Accra, less than Ashanti region, less than the Western region, less than the Central region, and just about 75 cases above the case count in the Eastern region. Now, so if there is any fear of COVID, it should rather be the people of Togo who should be afraid of Ghanaians crossing the border to spread COVID-19 in Togo, and not the other way around. The epicenter of COVID-19 in West Africa is not Togo. Ghana is in a very comfortable lead and struggling to be one of the highest as far as the region is concerned. So, and also, one of the first persons who came into our country with the virus was in the presidential entourage in Oslo. So this official reason being provided is not just hollow, it is laughable and actually represents an insult to the intelligence of our people. Just a few days ago, the MPP parliamentary primaries across different constituencies became virtual COVID-19 dissemination conferences. If the MPP government is looking for the real threats of COVID-19, they really don't have to look very far. They should just spare us the cock and bull stories about the need to patrol the borders to stop foreigners from coming with COVID-19, and they should have the courage to simply tell the truth for once. MPP MP Katie Hammond, in a recent interview, at least showed some honesty when he unwittingly disclosed what is obviously the real reason behind the deployment of the military along our borders. He revealed that deployment of troops in Ketu South and other eastern border towns is to prevent Togolese from coming across the border to come and register. Voila. We need no rocket scientists to understand that the grand agenda of the NPP is to intimidate our steaming supporters and make it difficult for them to come out in their numbers to register when the registration exercise begins tomorrow, Tuesday, the 30th of June. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, to understand the real reason behind this massing up of military and other security personnel in the Ketu South municipality and other towns of the Volta region, it is important that we try to help this country to see the big picture. Now, this big picture is NPP's perennial discrimination against the people of the Volta region. The bottom line is that, as far as the NPP is concerned, the people of the Volta region are foreigners. The others are not Ghanaians. Now, some people who do not really know this might be surprised about this statement. But we are going to systematically leave you in no doubt as to the authenticity of this statement. To begin with, let us remind everyone, especially the young people of Ghana, that the NPP family has been on record accusing the founder of our country, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, of being a foreigner. Specifically, they said he was from Liberia. A member of the same NPP family also took President Rawlings to court over claims that he was not a Ghanaian. The mother of President Rawlings hails from Keta in the Volta region, just next door to Ketu South. President Rawlings was born in the Gold Coast in 1947. He served this country as an Air Force officer, became the head of state of this beloved country. Despite all this, the NPP deemed him not good enough to be a Ghanaian. After all, in the view of the NPP, who have always believed that they are the owners of Ghana, Keta is not part of Ghana. If President Rawlings, despite hailing from Keta in the Volta region, was deemed not to be a Ghanaian, why is anyone in shock when we state that the NPP has an ingrained belief that the people of the Volta region are aliens and therefore not to be allowed to determine the political destiny of Ghana? Keta, by the way, where Rawlings hailed from, has always been a part of the Gold Coast. In fact, both Keta and Ketu districts have always been an integral part of the Gold Coast. They have never at any point in time been part of Togo. But not in the view of the owners of Ghana. Now, so many other sons and daughters of the Volta region have faced similar discrimination in the hands of the NPP. Some of you may recall how in the year 2009, at my parliamentary vetting to become a deputy minister of finance in the government of President Mills, NPP MPs, following the same agenda, boldly claimed that I was not a Ghanaian and therefore should not be allowed to become a member of Ghana's government. My father, Joseph Kofi Kwete, hails from Nogopo in the Ketu South constituency. His mother comes from Anyako in the Keta constituency. But in the opinion of the owners of Ghana, I am not a Ghanaian. My mother, Benonia Lomado Aivo, hails from Denu and Kliko, both in the Ketu South constituency. But in the opinion of the owners of Ghana, myself, and all the people of Ketu South that I have the privilege of representing in parliament are not worthy to be called Ghanaians. Now, it is against this background that we need to view what the NPP is doing in Ketu South and other border towns of the Volta region. This siege of the Volta region dates back to NPP's perennial hatred towards any group of people that they perceive as standing between them and their insatiable desire for absolute political power. The unfounded and rather incoherent rantings of my friend, K.T. Hammond, will ordinarily be treated as just that. but they reveal the same deep-seated belief that somehow the defeat of the NPP in elections in this country is on account of foreigners who come from Togo. He actually claimed that the NPP was costing to victory in the first round of the 2008 elections, and Togolese were allowed to come from across the border to overturn the results in the second round of the 2008 elections. Somehow, Katie Hammond and the NPP have forgotten that even back in 2008, the NPP left all other borders open, but specifically closed the eastern border of this country before and during the first and second round of the 2008 elections. So the defeat of the NPP in the year 2008 had absolutely nothing to do with foreigners coming from Togo, because the borders were sealed. Exactly what it is we are seeing today. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, this show of tribal hatred did not start today. The Nana Akufo-Addo's government is only taking it to a whole new level. This deep-seated animosity comes from a sense of entitlement. They believe that because they are superior Ghanaians, all others who do not share their political perspective must be deemed ineligible, so that the political destiny of Ghana will remain exclusively in their hands. Now, the people of Côte d'Ivoire have suffered largely from that same sense of entitlement, that superior feeling of being better Ivorians. Now, the concept known in French as ivoirieté, that is, being a proper Ivorian, led to the unfortunate and bloody civil war that almost destroyed the hitherto very peaceful country of La Côte d'Ivoire. During President Konan Bedie's presidency, ethnic tensions rose sharply, with a widening rift between the country's predominantly Muslim north and mainly Christian south. Before the 1995 and 2000 elections, a law drafted by President Konan Bedie and upheld by the Supreme Court of Ivory Coast required that both parents of a presidential candidate had to be born within Côte d'Ivoire. This led to the disqualification of the northern presidential candidate Alassane Ouattara, who represented the predominantly Muslim north and poor settler workers who worked on coffee and cocoa plantations in the south. We in Ghana are grateful to God that despite the perennial attempt of the NPP family to define who a proper Ghanaian is, we as a country have largely avoided the path of national disintegration and bloody ethnic conflict. But just as ivoirieté is dangerous in Ivory Coast, so also is Ghanaité iniquitous and dangerous in Ghana. It is high time the NPP family were told once and for all that the fact that they never once won any election against Dr. Kwame Nkrumah had nothing to do with foreigners. Nkrumah was beloved by most of the people of Ghana and won elections freely and fairly. The founder of the NPP family, Dr. J.B. Danquah, could not even win one single election in his lifetime. Not even one. Now, instead of addressing their political groups' perennial loss in elections, the NPP rather chooses to direct their venom and hatred towards innocent groups and accuse them of being aliens. It should be recalled that this was the main reason that the NPP family introduced the Aliens Compliance Order back in 1969. A wicked legislation introduced by them when they finally won through manipulation the 1969 elections after orchestrating to have the CPP banned. What cowards and manipulators they have always been. Now it is high time the NPP family were informed that their humiliating electoral losses to President Rawlings in both the 1992 and 1996 elections had nothing to do with foreigners from Togo. The Volta region, together with 8 other regions in Ghana, voted for President Rawlings and the NDC in both 1992 and 1996. This was an overwhelming support in all the regions of Ghana except one. In fact, there is no previous election that the NDC as a party has won in Ghana that the party did not win at least 8 regions out of the 10. That tells you how absolutely overwhelming our support is. It has nothing to do with foreigners that are coming from any other part of West Africa. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, where from all this hatred and animosity towards one region, and all the spurious and unfounded claims that the painful defeats suffered by the MPP were on account of foreigners from Togo? Was it Togolese who have been winning the central region and the western region for the NDC in all the elections the party has won? Was it them who won the eastern region for the NDC in both 1992 and 1996? Was it them who win Greater Accra and Brong-Ahafo regions anytime the NDC wins the elections? Is it Togolese who always win the 3 northern regions for the NDC anytime the party wins? This heightened sense of delusion, this refusal on the part of the MPP to accept the naked truth must come to an end. Both Nkrumah's CPP and Rawlings NDC did not humiliate the NPP family at the polls because of Togolese or Liberians or aliens from Jupiter or Pluto. They did so because they won the hearts and the minds of the people of Ghana through their patriotism and dedication to the well-being of Ghanaians. Now, MPP's chronic problem is that they do not have in their DNA the capacity to accept an electoral defeat. They just cannot come to terms with the fact that they cannot win every election. Maybe the delusion that Ghana is their property makes it too difficult for them to accept this reality. When they lost in 1992, it was a stolen verdict. When they lost in 1996, it was a bought verdict. In 2008, Nana Akufo-Addo used all shenanigans, including the most dastardly attempt to change figures in the strong room of the EC. But for the vigilance and the courage of the NDC in that strong room in the second round in 2008, Nana Akufo-Addo and his MPP would have succeeded to subvert the will of the people of Ghana. We have not even mentioned their failed efforts, as was captured on tape, to place dead bodies in water bodies in the Volta region as a way of subverting the will of the people of Ghana. After all these machinations failed, Nana Akufo-Addo, true to character, refused to concede and congratulate the winner of the elections, J.E.A. Mills of blessed memory. After the 2012 defeat, the MPP went on a violent spree, beating and assaulting innocent citizens at Obrasport and other places, destroying property in the process. Then, to cover their shame, they went on a face-saving journey to the Supreme Court in a bid to overturn the supreme will of the people of Ghana. They just do not have it in their genes to accept defeat. After all, how can the owners of Ghana ever lose to parties that are filled with aliens and foreigners? The only time they accept any electoral outcome is when their party wins. It is either their way or the highway. What kind of people are these? Ladies and gentlemen of the media, the anger of the MPP, anytime they lose the election, should rather be directed at their own internal campaign inadequacies. It is only chronic losers who blame others for their losses, because winners always elect to do deep introspection and self-correction when they lose. Now, rather than direct their venom towards others, so instead of MPP being angry against others for daring to deny them their God-given right to rule Ghana, it would be better for them to do a deep self-examination. As the great philosopher Socrates said, an unexamined life is not worth living. Why does the MPP family believe that they are superior Ghanaians and that they have a God-given right over the political and economic destiny of Ghana? Kwame Nkrumah's CPP, that fought for the independence of Ghana, at the time the MPP family kept begging Britain not to grant independence to our nation, did not even behave as though they were superior Ghanaians.
We are told by the minister responsible for the interior, the regional minister, that this is the normal deployment they have done to prevent the importation, the further importation of COVID-19. And yet, we all know that this deployment, when it was first rolled out, did not include the military. We're all here. The immigration was at the helm of affairs, as our constitution demands. We need to understand what is the heightened threat. You invite the military when the threat levels have escalated. We are not aware of any heightened threat. We have been asking in Parliament, what is the heightened threat? In that incoherent ranting by our good friend Katie Hammond, he even suggests that the military are here for peace operations, peacekeeping. Who is at war here? Who is at war? So Aflao has become a war zone that we need the military to come and keep the peace. Can we be told who the warring factions are? Who is fighting who? How many lives have been lost? How many properties destroyed? And so we need the military, and we don't know if it's who authorized the peace mission, the peacekeeping mission, whether it's the United Nations or the African Union or ECOWAS. I mean, it gets ridiculous and more ridiculous. So please, we know what is going on. This morning we spoke to our colleagues at the Western Frontiers. There is no such deployment. All the way from the Jomoro side to Sechi-Wioso, Sechi-Akontombra, and all of you can call, even send your colleague correspondence to those areas. Are they not border towns? Why pick on Volta region? Why the discrimination? That is what we are worried about. And as our brother Fifi Kwete says, they have been consistent. You recall the 5th August 2015 press conference by Dr. Baumia, where he said that they have done some work, facial recognition technology. They've obtained a Togolese voters register. 10% of work done so far. About 80,000 Ghanaians on the register. They've discovered that they are apparently Togolese. And that in the next few days, you put out the 90%. It's been 5 years. 5 years. We are waiting for the 90%. The Togolese authorities issued a statement that they have not given their voters register to anybody. We are still waiting, 5 years on. So consistently, picking on the Volta region, we are for peace. Our chiefs are for peace. Our elders are for peace. We all want to live in unity. The national anthem of this country was composed by one of our own, Philip Beho. We have an equal stake. They don't even understand the Trans-Volta Togoland question, that major parts of the Volta region were not part of it. It's an agenda that cut across countries, from Cameroon, Benin, the Mampusi area, Dagbon area. Is how this matter even has become a Volta secessionist agenda, distortion of history. And we know our history. We've always been part of the Ghana construct. Is it too much to ask to be respected, to be valued, to be seen as any other person? Listen to Katie Hammond. He says, you know, they belong to one ethnic group. The Evers are here, Evers are in Togo, one ethnic group. The Akans, you know the Akans in Ivory Coast, across the border, Elubo. I've gone there, I've attended funerals. Beautiful Akan culture. Why is nobody talking about that? Why are they not being targeted? The Hausa-speaking people, they are the most prolific tribe in Africa. They cut across Northern Nigeria, Gambia, Senegal, Ivory Coast, all over. Are we to then say the Hausa-speaking people should not be allowed to vote? They are not Ghanaians. The Fulanis. Are we to say that Fulanis should not be on the register? And then what would that happen? What would that mean for our beloved and cherished second lady? So please, let's stop these things. We are one people.
Yeah, it goes beyond Volta region. It's about Ghana and the peace and stability of our democracy. Na enya ya jojom lafia, miena oyijia, niye gwana jojo genya ba democracy ya 1992, mieba etukoko kuku awovo. Mienya ma jimla Ghana, akodada ye na naga miako troji dudu. Najaba akodada ye na naga miako troji dudu a, nkongrongo yenya foundation for akodada. Tano bonankongloga ya mada dodo wom ba ya naba amado mato anglonkoa. That person is a threat to our democracy. That is the danger we are facing. Anya ya boga malami sinye. We don't want anybody to use this environment as an excuse to do anything against the democracy. That is why we are speaking out and sending a loud and clear warning. But there is no man, no woman, no devil, no military, no police, no soldier, no Akufo-Addo that can stop the will of the people. There is nothing, absolutely nothing that can stop a determined people who are willing to stand up for their rights. We have seen it in many countries. Miekpe Tunisia, miekpe Duomo, ayo dojia, soja o, wanto, ogba tuadashi, ogba amokadashi, oshidu, ojo. Because the will of the people is the most powerful force in this land. Human beings are created in the image of God. When majority of the people come together and determine to do something, there is nothing anybody can do. No electoral commission, no Supreme Court, no soldier, no parliament, nothing. There is nothing. There is a movement that is going on. The people of Ghana want change. This government has failed. They can eat all the gari in this world. They can go and drink all the sea in the Atlantic Ocean. Nothing will stop them from going down December 2020. Not about NDC or about Voltarians against Ashantis or Achims. It's about the short man Akufo-Addo. With a small group of people, there are people in MPP who are suffering, who are hungry. Only a few people, 5-10 people, have hijacked the resources of this country, have hijacked the power of this country. As Okujato proved the last time, they have performed 14%. They know that time is catching up with them, the clock is ticking, and the people of Ghana will vote them out. That is why they are resorting to all these tricks. So, brethren, let's all arise. Let's all arise. Nobody can stop us. And come December 2020, they will go. 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 By rain, by thunder, by fire, no man, no woman, no devil, no electoral commission, no Supreme Court will stop